Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose.
Hi guys, my name is Em. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, it is going to be me reacting to your bookish unpopular opinions. I am so excited for this video. Honestly, somebody suggested this when I was looking for bookmas ideas. I was going to make a video of me talking about my own bookish unpopular opinions, but then when I was actually trying to think, I could come up with like maybe one, maybe two, but not enough to make a whole video out of. So I asked you guys over on Instagram on a poll and you came up with so many, and so I'm going to be basically going through all of them. I'm going to try to get to all of them. There's a lot saying, do I agree with them, do I disagree with them, am I on the fence, etc, etc. Okay, I've got my handy dandy iPad. So starting off at number one, we have library is better than buying books. I love libraries and I think libraries are great and there's nothing wrong with using libraries. Personally, I prefer to buy books because I love to annotate and I love to write in my books, and I'm obviously not going to write in a library copy. Plus, our libraries have been kind of closed and very unstable during the pandemic. But what I do love about libraries is I use the library app BorrowBox and borrow tons of ebooks and audiobooks. I do love that, but I prefer buying books, so I would have to say I disagree with that one. Okay, the next one says, I think Adam Silvera is overrated. I would technically agree with that one because I think I've read one Adam Silvera book with Becky Albertalli. I didn't like it. Okay, so the next one, I don't often hold on to books even if I like them. Ooh, okay. I mean, you do you, that's amazing. I would love to be less kind of sentimental over my books. But if I like a book, usually I hang on to it. I love collecting books, but I don't hang on to books that I disliked, or I don't keep books that I have no intention of ever looking back on. Like any book that doesn't spark joy, I don't keep. Fantasy is overrated. I feel like that's very much a difference of opinion. I like fantasy. I definitely don't think it's the only thing that you can read. If you're a fantasy reader and you only like reading fantasy, that's totally fine. But for me, I love reading fantasy, but I also love reading other genres of books. I'm not an exclusive fantasy lover. But I mean, I don't think it's overrated because a lot of them are amazing. Okay, I like the next one. It is, the functionality of a bookshelf is more important than the aesthetic. I kind of agree with this one. At the moment, I can't film in front of my shelves because they are so messy, but every single book that I own is shoved onto these shelves. They're double stacked, triple stacked, books on top of books. So, I mean, you could say that my bookshelf is definitely a functioning bookshelf. But is it aesthetic? Is it pretty? Not really. I mean, I love a pretty bookshelf. It's kind of the booktuber in me that I just want to like take pictures or film videos in front of my pretty bookshelves. But I mean, my little autumnal photo stack is just as good. But I mean, I guess the functionality is better than the aesthetic. Okay, so the next one's a very controversial one, and it is, Bookstagram sees reading as a competition with themselves, not just to enjoy the book. I almost really agree with that one. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves to read. I don't think other bookstagrammers put pressure on you to read, but I definitely feel like you put pressure on yourself. If I go a day or two without updating my Instagram on what I'm reading, I usually get very stressed about it. Bookstagram gets too hung up on the amount of books they've read. I would say I agree with that one. I think that it's true. I don't know why. Again, I think it's like the pressure to read constantly and consistently in order to like grow on Bookstagram and in order to like have conversations with people and talk about books and to catch up with like new releases and stuff. I have definitely got to come to terms with myself that quality over quantity, because since March started, I had been reading a whole bunch of books every single month. Like, I read 20 books in March and I'd never even read 5 books in a month before that. So I was putting a lot of pressure on myself to read. We're kind of getting into the busier season of the year. I definitely feel like I'm not reading as much, and I am kind of putting more pressure on myself and getting hung up over the fact that I'm not reading as many books. Because when you're not reading as many books, you can't put out as much content, and when content is what you do as a hobby, you're not reading and you're not putting out content, you tend to feel a little bit bad about yourself. But yeah, I totally agree with that one. Okay, so the next one is Six of Crows 3 is unnecessary because I liked the ending of Crooked Kingdom. I don't know about this one. I haven't read Crooked Kingdom. I read halfway through Six of Crows and unhauled my copy, but I am getting the collector's edition for Christmas and I do intend to read the series. Personally, I don't like when a series is like a duology or is a standalone or is a trilogy, and then they add more books to it afterwards just because it did well, and sometimes those books aren't as good. Music while reading is a go. I don't know if you meant no-go or is like good, but I agree. I love music while reading. I can't listen to music with words while reading because I just find myself singing along, getting really distracted by the music, but I love listening to like Christmas songs or just like peaceful classical music. Never listen to classical music any other time, but when I'm reading, I love it. The ASMR rooms, I literally have one on in the background. It's muted, but just so that my laptop stays on because I'm uploading a video. Call me a multitasking queen, shall we? Okay, the next one is reading at night is better than the day. Ooh, I'm on the fence with that one. I love reading at night, but usually I'm way too tired, though it is when I get most of my reading done, is like the evening. I would love to read as soon as I wake up. I would love to be a daytime reader, but for some reason I always get distracted or need to complete other things that I need to do in the day before reading. So the only time that I read in the day is when I've got nothing on. If I have anything else on, I feel it really difficult to concentrate on reading before you get everything done, so I would agree that nighttime reading is more calm. Floppy paperbacks over hardcovers any day. I love a floppy paperback. I don't know, do I love it over hardcovers? Lately I've been so obsessed with hardcovers and I've been trying to buy less books, and when I buy them in hardcover because first of all they last longer, they're just sturdier, and usually the covers are a bit nicer. I do still love paperbacks. I mean, I'm literally called perfect paperbacks. I mean, I don't know, but a floppy paperback is amazing. It depends what mood I'm in. It depends what mood I'm in. Stiff paperbacks are right at the bottom though. Like, absolutely not. I kind of like friends to lovers trope. Completely. It's not my favorite trope or anything, but I definitely do really like it. I think in some books it's not executed well because it can be like it's convenient, or that only one of them felt the same until something happened to the other one and then the other felt the same. I don't particularly love that, but I do often like it, and when it is done well, it is amazing. But I love enemies to lovers more. Oh yeah. For some reason, I just love an enemies to lovers. I love when the villain is the love interest, and for what? Like, I literally hate bad people in real life, but villains in books, they just hit different. And okay, so the next one is standalones are underrated. I love a standalone, so I agree with that. They don't focus too much on world building or magic systems, they just jump straight into the plot. They're usually quite fast paced because it has to conclude in the one book. The next one is so funny, and it is books is just an excuse not to go outside and have friends. I kind of agree with this one. I mean, I don't like going outside in general. Not like outside, like I like outdoors, but I don't like going socializing, going to like events and stuff. I don't know if it's an excuse not to have friends, because I think I have more friends than ever from Bookstagram. Obviously I have my real life friends who I love and adore. I definitely think it's not an excuse to not go out, because if somebody invited me somewhere, I would never say I'm not going out because I need to read, but it is a reason to stay inside. Okay, the next one actually came up a lot, and it was I'm not a huge fan of The Cruel Prince. So many people said that they didn't like The Cruel Prince as their unpopular opinion. I liked The Cruel Prince, I really did. I remember as I was reading it, I loved it and thought it was the best thing ever. I don't really think that anymore, but I certainly do like it. I actually only finished How the King of Elfhame Learned to Hate Stories last night, which was the novella to that series, and as I was reading that book, it really reminded me how little I remember and how much I forget from the trilogy. So I would like to reread it in the future just to see, do my feelings change. I remember there was a little bit lacking from it, especially the last one, but I still really enjoyed it, and I wouldn't say I don't like it. It's totally valid not to. I think with popular series, sometimes people are afraid to say that they don't like them. Like, I am terrified to say that I don't like Red, White and Royal Blue or Six of Crows because so many people love them. and take it personally, and it's like, it's not personal, it's just I don't like it. So the next one I really like, and it is Kingdom of Ash was too long and ended up being boring. I haven't read Kingdom of Ash, but I already agree. I'm on Tower of Dawn, and Sarah J Maas's books are sometimes unnecessarily long. I feel like the first half of her books could definitely be condensed into half of the page numbers, so I'm guessing it's the same for Kingdom of Ash. I feel like once it's in the action, or once it's in the second half of the book, you take off, and I absolutely love them. Still really excited for Kingdom of Ash because so many people have said it's amazing, and I have no doubt that it will be amazing because it's going to be emotional. Okay, the next one, I don't even think it's an unpopular opinion at this stage, but it is, I don't like the Mortal Instruments. I agree. I don't like it. The book was written too long ago for me to enjoy it. It's kind of like early 2000 vibes, and I don't know what I don't like about that, but I don't love it. Some of the tropes in here, some of the plot points in here, if you know you know, are just disgusting, and I feel like she shouldn't have gotten away with that even then, but definitely wouldn't get away with it now. But I mean, yes, so I agree with that one. Okay, so the next one is the ending of The Hunger Games is bad. I will have to come back to you on that one once I finish The Hunger Games. I've read the first book and I've watched the first movie, and I purposely didn't watch the other two movies because I wanted, or the other three movies, I feel like the last book is made into 2 movies. I wanted to wait until I finished the books, but honestly I'm probably never going to finish the books, and I might just end up watching the movies because I got my mom hooked on them too, and she really likes them now and wants to watch the rest of them, so yeah. But I feel like the whole thing is just a fun series. I don't think it's amazing or anything. Okay, the next one is, I rarely like love triangles. Why can't 2 people just like each other without the other in the way? I don't hate love triangles. Sometimes they're done well, and if I have a blatant favorite in the love triangle and that is who is going to win because it's kind of obvious, then I like it. But if it's one that I kind of like both love interests and I don't want either of them to get hurt, then I don't love it. There's one particular one that stands out to me and it makes me cry a little bit, which is by Cassandra Clare, and that love triangle kills me. So the next one is, PDFs aren't so bad, you can get free access to tons of books that way. I mean, I agree. I don't think they're bad at all, except the fact that they're illegal, but I also do it, so you're all good. I think it's a great way to be able to get any book. The only thing bad about PDFs is they don't support authors, and I love to support an author, but if there's like a problematic book or a problematic author that I kind of want to read just to say that I've read it, I will download a PDF just so that I don't have to like support the author, if you get me. I don't do that often, but if I were to do that, that is what I would do. I like the next one. Not everything is immediately problematic because it doesn't 100% conform with your personal worldview. I 100% agree with this. I feel like, especially on TikTok, people are getting cancelled a lot, and I really dislike cancel culture. If somebody says something problematic or racist or homophobic or sexist or anything that really shouldn't be said, you can of course call them out on that, and that is not cancelling. You can call someone out. You don't need to do that in a public manner, like everybody go hate on this person because they said this. Maybe just like speak to them and say, do you realize what you said was wrong? Here's why it's wrong. Please educate yourself. And if they are then kind of like, no, I still agree with it, that is when it's problematic, as you would call it. Let's talk about the Charli D'Amelio thing. This is not book related at all, but Charli D'Amelio was handed like snails or something by their personal chef, and she asked for dino nuggets, and everybody was like unfollowing her. Everyone was saying she doesn't deserve her platform. The next day when she was like hosting like Zoom meetings, everybody changed their tune. So I feel like people pick and choose what to find problematic depending on how much they like the person, which I don't agree with. If somebody says something wrong, they're allowed to be called out for saying something wrong. But I 100% agree that not everything is 100% problematic because it doesn't fit with your worldview. Certain things are, but not everything. Okay, the next one is One Day in December is actually super problematic and not at all a cute wintry romance. First of all, I haven't read it, but I also 100% agree. I really dislike Christmas contemporary books. I read one last year and it was just so bad, and I truly wondered, how did the author get away with writing this in a book? So I've actually heard this opinion a lot. A lot of people have said that One Day in December is super problematic and that they didn't like it. So it's definitely not one that I'm embracing. The next one is One of Us is Lying was a really boring book, DNF'd. Totally agree. I read halfway through, DNF'd it, read a spoiler summary for it, was so disappointed in the ending. The next one is from Leigh, and it is, I bend page corners and I DNF frequently. I don't push through it. 100% agree. I don't have a problem with bending page corners. I usually use a bookmark simply because I have a good few bookmarks and I love to match my bookmark to the book. But I would bend a page corner if I didn't have a bookmark. DNFing all the time. There's no point reading a book that you're not enjoying. The Darkling is not it. No, he is not. I have only read halfway through the first book. As I was reading it, I was like, oh, the Darkling, like, he's a mysterious, he has a dark past character, love interest. And then I was texting my friend Marit and I was telling her, oh, you know, I really like the Darkling. And she was like, do you realize what he did? And then she told me what he did and I immediately unstand because no, but I hadn't gotten that far in the book, so I didn't know that that had happened, but I completely agree, he is not it. Here's my unpopular opinion thrown in the mix here. You can't cancel a fictional character and a fictional character cannot be problematic. This was a topic going around TikTok a little while ago that everyone was cancelling Rhysand from ACOTAR, saying that he was so problematic. Do people realise he is a made up fictional character? If he is not perfect, it's because Sarah wanted to write him as not perfect. These villains, they're not problematic, they're villains. They're made up villains. And the reason that they were written was to be bad. They're not problematic. It's you're not toxic for enjoying their character or liking to read about their character because that is their character. If this was a real person and you were like, I love these people that are just criminals, that would be a little bit weird, but they're not. They're fictional characters. Fictional characters cannot be problematic. Maybe some of the things they do are questionable, but that is purposeful. The next one is ACOTAR is overrated. I agree that it's a very hyped series, but I got the hype. The first book, didn't really like it. It was okay. And I think if you've read the first book, I would highly recommend reading the second book because it definitely does pick up. But I don't think for me it's overrated because I really, really enjoyed it. But I can see how it's kind of like pictured as this perfect series and this series that everybody needs to read. If it's not your thing, that's okay. Ooh. This is the content that I signed up for. Here's a real controversial one. Okay, so this one is, I think Sarah J Maas is a bad writer whose books are marketed to people way too young for the content. Listen, I am gonna sit halfway on the fence here because I don't think Sarah J Maas is a bad writer. I genuinely really love her books. I don't agree with everything that she puts in her books. She definitely needs more representation, but acknowledging that and seeing that, I still love the stories. But I do definitely think that they're marketed for people younger than they're appropriate for. It's definitely not a young adult book. You read what you want to read, but it is definitely not young adult. It shouldn't be marketed as young adult, just like Nevernight shouldn't, but often is. Okay, there's another one that says, I think Sarah J Maas is overrated, but I love ACOTAR. I think she's very hyped, and I think a lot of people are kind of like either love her or hate her. I fall on the bracket of loving her, but some people love to hate her, and I don't think that's very fair because there's a lot more authors that are way more problematic than she is, but because she's so popular and overrated, people really like to hate on her, and I don't like that. Okay, wow, we're really coming for some authors here, and this one is Leigh Bardugo is overrated. Her stuff is so mediocre. I would have to agree because I haven't liked any of her books. I haven't finished any of her books. I gave up halfway through both of them, so I would agree with that one. But I mean, I'm willing to give another chance and I'm very excited for the Netflix show, so yeah. Okay, so there are two more on here, and it is, I didn't really like The Cruel Prince, Jude is so annoying. So we've already gone through that a lot of people don't like The Cruel Prince, but Jude is so annoying. Listen, I don't know. I can't fully remember. I think I remember that she was a little bit frustrating, but I didn't dislike her as a character. I didn't dislike Taryn either. I didn't like everything that she did, but I didn't hate her. Some people like ferociously hate this girl, and I definitely do not. And the next one is physically reading is better than reading ebooks. I prefer reading physically to reading ebooks because my eyes get really sore, but I don't think one is necessarily better than the other. There's a lot of pros to reading on ebooks, but it's just not my personal preference. But okay guys, that is it for this video. Don't get offended over any of these opinions. It is a fun video. So many of you guys have the same unpopular opinions as each other and as me, so I find that really interesting to react to. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you're enjoying my Bookmas videos. Let me know down in the comments what your bookish unpopular opinion is, and I will talk to you very, very soon in the next video. Stay amazing, stay kind, stay safe. I love you all. Bye guys!